Hey everyone, and welcome to our podcast. This is Champurrado coming at you live from the internet. Before we start, we just want to say that the jokes we make are not meant to hurt or discriminate against anyone. Everyone is entitled to their own opinions, and we should love one another for our own individualism. We live in a cruel, unadulterated world during abnormal times, and the only way for us to get through it is with humor. Thanks for listening to our project, and thanks for vibing. Enjoy.
Yo, what's good? Welcome to What's Cooking in the Kitchen with me, Brown Sugar, also known as BS, and my co-host, Champurrado, also known as CH, handling the heat so you don't have to.
Today, we're talking about something that made 2020 what it is. We're going to be talking about the largest pathological battle of our generation. We're talking, well, you can probably guess by the cover art, the coronavirus and the many effects it has had on the world.
Coronavirus versus the world. How y'all feeling? 2020 already has started off completely crappy. I mean, we've already had so many deaths in terms of celebrities, rappers, singers. We've already had like the swine flu pop up. We've had killer bees or something like that. What's next? Aliens, Transformers? But we're here to talk about the coronavirus. Where were you when it hit? When you got that announcement?
Okay. When we were told that the coronavirus was a serious pandemic, I remember first hearing about it in, not like the pandemic, but the fact that it was getting serious when I was in my criminology class. Unfortunately, one of the students that was, attending our school got it or was showing symptoms for it. And everybody in the lecture started flipping out. And the professor was like, look, if you're afraid, you're old enough to make your own decisions, you can leave if you want to. If you do feel okay, just stay here and we'll continue on with that lecture. And a couple people actually left. I remember, like...
Were you one of those people?
No.
Or did you actually stay? Oh.
No, I stayed. But
I
that's
would have been gone.
But that's because I was thinking to myself, I was like, it's not really here yet, because it just started. Like, it was, the middle of March, middle of March. And we were just, we didn't know what we were going up against. We were just like, oh, it's probably just like the swine flu or
it'll just pass over something like.
Yeah, something like it can get a little bit of traction, but then it'd go away. We were under the impression that it wasn't going to have this much of a drastic effect on life as we know it. And so I decided to just keep attending my lecture and listening and doing everything the way that we were supposed to. But then we got that email where the rest of the classes were going to be online.
Canceled, yeah.
Yeah, and that's when it hit me, and I was like, oh.
You said, this is real. This is real life. This is something serious.
This is something incredibly serious. And personally, I didn't know what to believe. I didn't know whether to be frightened. I didn't know whether to laugh it off. I didn't know what my next move should be. So I remember sitting in the hall, or like my dorm hall, and just sitting in the living room or the common area and contemplating on what to do next. Because I didn't know who had it. I didn't know how serious it was. I didn't know how contagious it was. Because, we didn't know. Like, we were just in the dark.
There were too many variables that were going on. Nobody knew what to do. Not even the CDC. That's the weirdest part about it. But for me, I guess where I was, me and my boys, like, we knew the announcement was coming because they said, like, President Trump, or just, I'm going to say Trump because, how I feel about it. So Trump was going to make an announcement about the fate of the virus. And so I go up to my boy's dorm. We're watching it on the computer. Like, it was like an NFL draft type of thing. You feel me? Like man was really finna give out like the fate of the world on the computer, and he was like, okay, I have officially announced that it's the pandemic. And like they're looking at it all serious, and my goofy self goes, oh, we in a pandemic. I was like, what's a pandemic? And then when I actually realized how serious it was, I was like, oh, we're gonna be in lockdown for like years. Like, I didn't know the meaning of, or I knew the meaning of a pandemic, but I didn't realize like how serious it was until like I actually did my research on it. And then like you, like my teacher started canceling classes and stuff like that. But I only saw it as a bonus because one, they was canceling my finals and I was low key doing bad in some of these classes, but I secured my grade because of the coronavirus. And I was like, there might be some benefits to it. Little did I know, once I canceled my housing contract, I was like, damn, I'm really gonna be trapped in the house for a whole year or two with my parents. And I was like, it ain't nothing bad about it, but I was like, I want to be living in the house. I was like, I miss the homies, but at the same time, what if the homies got the virus and I can't take that risk? You feel
Exactly.
me? I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
that's one part about the virus. I said, oof.
yeah, I remember I was with our two other homies that we're not gonna say who, um, you know, we were all, remember when we were all in that one room and
Hmm.
we were like the virus, like what's happening? And then you guys were like putting on masks and all that stuff. Like
Oh
at
yeah.
that point we were just like laughing about it and just like,
Hmm.
oh, like we it looks like we're just staying inside, no more classes or for a while. And but I was literally like contemplating, I was like, what is gonna happen? And the weird thing is that like about 2 weeks before all this like really went down, like I saw some videos on Instagram from from some people in China that were like, hey, they're trying to keep us from letting this get out, but
Hmm.
this is the serious thing that's going on. It's called the coronavirus. It started in Wuhan. Like I was looking
Yeah.
at it and I was like, is this an old video? Like what is this? I had no impression on how serious it was going to be, and I didn't know how prevalent it was to our current situation. But
Hmm.
little did we know that thing came all the way over here to the United States. And
I
it
feel like. Oh, go ahead. My
no, I was
bad.
just gonna say like it really messed up what we had, like, or messed up like a life
Hmm.
for a minute.
Yeah, bonds that we had with friends and stuff like that. I hear you. But I feel like the biggest indicator for us for how serious it was gonna get, at least personally for me, was what I saw it do in Italy. Because I was like, when you think about like Italy, like the size of Italy compared to the United States and how quickly it spread like that, I was like, damn. I was like, that was really fast. And considering that they're still in lockdown, I'm like, this is really serious. But then you have to analyze the entire size of the United States and how much bigger it is compared to Italy. And it's like, realistically, we were never going to have quarantine for as long as Italy had it. And they were lucky. If we're lucky, we might have it for maybe like 2 years where it's still prevalent, I think. Maybe not as serious as how they had it, but like where it's still kind of like looming in the air and maybe like finding a vaccine for it. But like, I don't know, man. Like, I
Per-
really don't know the state
pers-
of all of it.
Personally, I don't know how lucky we can be at this point in time. I remember another quick little tidbit. I remember when we were all moving out because they asked us to move out and clear out and all that stuff. I remember my dad was like, "Yo, you ready? Let's rock." And we moved all of our stuff, and then you guys all gave me like a hug and were like, "Oh, we'll see you later." And so I got in the car, or my dad's truck, excuse me, and we were driving, and my dad was immediately like, "Hey, take this, put this on," and it was like hand sanitizer. I was like, "What are you talking about?" I didn't realize when we were in college, we didn't really have any access to television. You know what I'm saying? Like we didn't
Mm-hmm.
really see how all of this was unfolding. I just remember my dad telling me like, "Hey, it's getting serious." And when I came back uh, home, I hung out with one of my friends from high school, and my dad called me. He said, "Hey, the governor just announced a lockdown. Get here as soon as you can, immediately." And so I was literally like, "Hey, man, I wish I could stay longer, but apparently there's a lockdown right now, and my dad wants me home, so I'm gonna have to
Mm-hmm.
skedaddle." And I
We
was,
was going through the same thing.
oh yeah, like I was,
But it was more during when the protests started happening, which we'll get into later.
mm-hmm.
But
But
yeah, I hear you on that one.
mm-hmm. It was just so bizarre, like having everything take place. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Like all the restrictions that they put at once, like how quickly it started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to think that people were still breaking guidelines like 2 weeks after,
It,
and are still breaking guidelines.
to this day, yeah, like
Yeah.
in August, it's the idea. The reason why this is happening, from what I can see, is it's the idea that as long as it isn't affecting you personally, it doesn't exist. And there are a lot of things that this is synonymous to in our current climate or political climate. Like if you look at racism, if it doesn't affect you personally, you may believe that it doesn't exist. Same with police brutality. Same with the disproportionate wage gaps that we have right now, and unemployment gaps that we have in this country at the moment. Like, if it's not affecting you personally, you don't necessarily have any reason to give any heart to it. You know?
Yeah, I hear you. The United States, where the coronavirus is a public opinion, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. What
Yeah.
what was your move after the announcement? Like after they said, like you got to stay home. Like what was your state of mind?
Oh, like what I gotta. Oh, like after I got the like after I moved out, because my first move was just to get out and just see what my fam was on.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first move. But after that, I got called in for a project to help with this PSA for the emic mask that I posted about with Ironclaw. And so with the PSA, we just kind of helped spread awareness about how serious the virus was. And I think that was down in like April or something like that. And the masks, they do the job, but ultimately it's also up to the people to kind of do their part in it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right.
Because it's like the mask, it's like it's great for if you don't want to spread the virus. It's like it's not gonna protect you against it, and I think that's where a lot of misinterpretations come from.
Mm-hmm. I mean, at this point, it's like we should wear a mask regardless if we want to avoid getting anybody
Spreading it or
sick,
not.
spreading it,
Yeah.
or just in case somebody wants to spread it to us. Like whenever we leave, maintain that 6 feet distance, just so that we can actually stay safe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you.
Um, and
How about you? What was oh shoot, my fault.
no, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say what were kind of like your negatives about being in quarantine?
Okay, so I can say that being in quarantine had both negatives and positives. For example, a negative that I had was losing weight. Um, when I was
Mm.
in college, I remember eating a lot. I remember doing a lot of working out. Like I was really, really on my game because when I was a junior and senior in high school, I was like 140. I was 5'11" and weighing 140, and I was like, I really wanted to really up my mass. I wanted to get bigger. And so when we were in college, I would work out every night. You remember, like we would,
Yeah, I remember.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
We'd be in the gym like every day
Exactly.
and getting food almost like every night.
Always going to Canes.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Raising Cane's, raise your standards with Raising Cane's. We ain't sponsored, but you know,
Yeah, raise your
the
standards.
food is fire.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Food, yeah, it's good. It's some good chicken, man.
That man reminiscing.
Sorry, sorry. It's been
He said before the virus.
yeah, because man, it's been so long.
BC, before Corona.
um, going to that was one of the last things that we did actually. We
Mm.
our mutual friend and I went to Canes with these two ladies that are also our friends. We went to Canes and we just like we reminisce on the good times that we had during our freshman year, and then I got picked up later on that day. But back to my story, I was eating a lot, I was working out a lot, and I was very impressed with my physique. When I got back home, I was 160, or nearly 160. After about 4 months, I started dropping down in weight. I went to 159 to 156 to 152 to 150, and at one point I was at 146 again. So I had lost all of my
15 pounds.
yeah, I've lost all of my progress, or I had lost all of my progress since I'd been here, and there were a bunch of factors for this. It was just being really depressed because I was like at home constantly, like I never left the house, because that's what we were asked to do. But I never left the house, and I tried to work out, but it began to get super hot because the heat can be like 110 degrees down here. And I was just losing so much motivation, especially with what happened to my cousin. Um,
Mm.
Everything just stopped me from wanting to like live for a minute. Like I was just a blind, or like a an empty
You
husk.
didn't really know what to do. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's one of the negative ways that it's impacted me. Um,
Mhm.
not to get too real, but
No, I understand. I mean, everybody's going through it during this time. Some worse than others.
mhm.
I think you handled that well.
Yeah, I mean, at one point I just got so sick of seeing the scale drop to the point where I started eating a lot more. I remember at one point for every morning I'd have four huge like IHOP style pancakes, four eggs,
Mm.
and like four pieces of bacon and some salad on the side or some form of fruit, and that was
That
just
man
for
had
breakfast.
salad for breakfast?
Yes, yes, I wanted to do like goodness to my body. I wanted to
Audience,
give.
do you eat salad for breakfast? Answer that in the comments below.
Yeah, do you eat?
I just want to know who I want to kick off the channel.
Oh man.
No, no, I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
um
But for real, you eat? Okay, never mind. We ain't even gonna get
No,
into that. I don't
okay.
know.
Look, I had salad because I wanted some sort of nutrients, some fruit or some.
Ranch
All
dressing for breakfast? Lock you up.
right, don't go that far, man. I ain't. I,
That man putting blue cheese in his eggs.
oh,
You disgust me.
oh, I mean, I put ketchup on my eggs, but that's different.
Nah, bro. You put eggs with your ketchup, dog. I've seen the pictures.
I just drowned.
There's a difference. You be drowning them.
I do be drowned. But what about you? Like, what have been some of the negatives of living in quarantine?
For me, I think the biggest negative of living in quarantine is socially. Because when I was back in school, like there was a lot of positive people that I could look up to. Like I know when I'm back home, like I feel like I'm more aggressive to put in terms. Because it's like I'm not used to like seeing people who uplift me the same way that my friends at school do.
Right.
And so when I'm detached from those people, it's a lot harder to call and like FaceTime or text and do stuff like that because I'm in a different environment now where if I'm not tough, then it's like people going to say something or act a certain way towards me. And so I have to keep that same level of hostility if I'm going to move around day to day. You feel me?
Yeah, I feel you. That and I feel you on that. And it's like a show no emotion, show that you're strong. Like it's that like it's a you got to be tough. You know what I'm saying? Like and
It's only for your environment.
mm-hmm,
At the same time, it's kind of like code switching because as soon as I'm back in like school, I'm like, all right, I'm cool, I'm funny, I'm that same kid that you know, I'm that same BS. You feel me?
mm-hmm.
Like, but as soon as I come back home, it's like I gotta handle things a little bit differently, at least because I know there's a lot of drama circulating that a lot of people don't know, like whether it's in this city or the next, and it's like if you don't act a certain way, then certain things might happen to you,
Mm-hmm. And it's yeah, I hear you.
and you got to be vigilant at all times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a different environment. Not to say that the OC is different. I mean, they both have their pros and cons in the same way. OC I feel is a little bit more what can I say? Not necessarily colorblind. How do I word it? It's like they're looking for you to make mistakes
Mm,
in a sense. If you're a person of color in OC,
mm-hmm. I yeah, I yeah, I agree.
they nitpick at everything. So you have to be the perfect minority to their standards.
Mm-hmm. I
But if you come out here, then it's just survive.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, living down in my area, um it's not really all that diverse. Like
Hmm.
the majority of the things that you'll find are people of Caucasian American descent or white people, and you'll find people of Latinx descent. Typically, you'll see Mexican Americans here, or just Mexicans that have immigrated to where I'm at. Um, but I know that being here, like there's not that it's not very diverse, and they don't look for a lot from you from what I've seen. Like they expect you to rather go to college or you help out with the family whenever you can. Like there were kids that I knew growing up in high school and middle school that would, as soon as school was over, they'd go and help out in the fields. You know what I'm saying? Like
I hear you.
they
Like they went straight to work.
yeah, exactly. Like they like those
Mm.
kids that lived in the lower economic areas of my area.
Mm.
But when you look at the Caucasian American students that had more of a opportunity, they were look forward, or they were looked to actually reach for college, become a lawyer, become a doctor, and all that stuff. They were encouraged to succeed. They were encouraged to go as far as they could, while a lot of people don't have that luxury, particularly where I'm staying at. And so, growing up, that was kind of the mindset that I had. My mindset was, I don't have that many opportunities, but I have more than some, and so I'm gonna do what I can to get to where I need to go. And that's why, I'm in college now. I'm learning, and I'm 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 learning how to adapt. So, in a way, it's not necessarily the same way as you experience it, but I certainly feel where you're coming from.
I hear you. And the worst part about like systems like that is that it always repeats. So if you get stuck in that loop where it feels like there's no chance, or if you don't really like take advantage of your area, regardless if there's resources or not, then that's just gonna go over to like your kids in a sense. You feel me?
And like the cycle
Since they're
continues.
just trapped in that same cycle, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So the cycle continues. Yeah. Um, what well, I can say in this from this point of view, I know you kind of touched on it. Another negative thing that I've experienced being in quarantine, is just being isolated from everybody. Like,
Mm.
of course, you have technology, you can reach out to whoever you want to, however you can, but it's not the same as physically being present with people, like living in the actual moment. You know what I'm saying?
I need a hug, man.
I
I don't even like hugs all that much, but I need a hug.
I need a hug too. And the sad thing is like your family's there. And depending on your environment, there's some families that'll be like, you don't get no hug, you're stronger than that, or something like that.
True.
But there's
I
also,
felt that.
yeah, exactly. But you can't even get a hug from your other people because you don't want to.
Man, I ain't even hugged my fam. I live with my fam like every day.
Mm-hmm,
I haven't hugged them in like years when I think about it.
mm-hmm.
Isn't that weird? I don't know. I feel like that's weird.
Every family dynamic is different.
Yeah.
But I know, like, sometimes I would wake up in the middle of the night, because I'd have dreams about going back to school. As weird as it sounds, I would
My
have
man had dreams. He said, homework, please.
no, no,
Please,
not like
homework.
that, but like I'd have dreams of us walking in the plaza that we have at our school with our group of friends. You know what I'm saying? Or I'd
Mm.
be reliving instances that we've had in the past, like just brief little blots of memories that I've had throughout this past year, and thinking, dude, this was so great. And then I'd wake up and be like, oh yeah, I'm here.
Yep, in quarantine with the
This
Rona.
this is
Big
a
Rona.
this is a depressing episode.
Very. Which is why I want to talk about the positives of living in quarantine.
Mm.
Ways in which you grew, my G.
Ooh, okay. You can start. Go. I gotta think about mine. Go ahead.
But I guess a positive for me, it's the opposite for you in terms of weight gain. Because when I was at school, I wasn't really eating too many meals because I was rushing from class to class. Like my schedule was just janky.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as I came back home, I was like, hey, there's home cooked meals like every day. I ain't even gotta pay for nothing. I'm like, I'm financially stable because my family's just basically buying groceries for me. Uh, my mom started cooking oatmeal. I ain't had that since I don't even know when. I just wanted it. So I went from I think 156 was when that was the weight I was when I came back home, and I am now 189, 187, something like that, somewhere in that range.
Oh, you.
And so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I gained like 40 pounds, dog. I was like, but it's like it's pure muscle too. That's another thing that I wanted to talk about because when I came back home, I was like, I thought I was gonna lose like my form or like my shape because there weren't too many weights around here. But I built my own gym from scratch, dog. Like
I,
you've seen my setup.
I I have seen
I,
your setup.
I
It's
built it from the ground
it's
up.
a rusty bar with two rusty plates and some cinder blocks.
Bro, when I tell you I literally dug these weights out of the ground, like it was raining and I said, "Is that a weight?" And I pulled it up out of the ground. I got a shovel, dug them up, and I was like, "Bet, these is my weights now." And whenever I run out of weight, I take you know how my you know how like my old rims for my car were like messed up and like scratched out and stuff like that?
Yeah. Oh, don't
So
tell.
basically I bought some new rims and I took the old rims and I used those as weights too.
No.
So it works out perfectly.
Nice. Way to be efficient, dude. That's pretty impressive.
Have to, dog. I got resourceful.
hmm
That and little side things that I've been working on is like the Adobe Illustrator stuff because I like doing art and stuff like that. And I think I was a lot more focused in quarantine. Like there was a lot, not to sell myself short or nothing, but it's a lot easier to finesse.
Mm.
It's a lot easier to finesse your classes in quarantine.
Oh yeah, I hear you. Don't let our
Oh
school.
yeah, most definitely.
Don't specify.
Howard Gilman, if you're listening, you didn't hear anything I just said. But
um,
yes.
well, that's pretty good. I'm glad to hear that you're surviving and you're dodging and weaving all of these misfortunate events. I know that some of the positives that come from living during this time is, you know, as terrible as it has been for people to have been losing their jobs and everything like that. I have to say I've had more money than I've ever had in my entire life during this
Same.
time. And all I can say is that I'm blessed and that I'm happy to be where I am. But I'm so pleased to be able to know that I have money to pay for myself if I need to. You know what I'm saying? Like I can be
Hmm.
more independent. And I remember when I was in college, I was thinking to myself, I was like, bro, I can't really like date until I have some form of income so that I don't
Now
necessarily.
you got money.
Yeah, exactly. And now I'm making dough now. I'm making money and I'm doing things that are actually benefiting my community. That's another positive thing. I've been listing resources for the people within my community so that they can get tested, and that if they need any assistance with housing or may it be food or may it be anything like that, we can provide those resources for them. So I've been able to do some form of outreach in my community. So I'm very thankful for that, and it's very humbling to know that I'm able to impact my community during such a devastating time. And finally, I guess the last thing that I can think of as a positive is the fact that I've been able to get to know myself. You know,
Hmm.
I've been able to
Self meditation.
yeah, I've been able to sit down, look at myself, and truly analyze who I am as a person, what I like about myself, what I think I can improve on, and go from there. And be somebody that I can see in the mirror and be overjoyed to be able to live in, I guess, because I'm living in my own skin. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I love the growth though.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
You'll be a different person for when we all come back.
Mm-hmm.
That's another negative of quarantine. Speaking of growth, hair growth, haven't gotten a cut. We're going back to the first week. Still haven't gotten a cut since February. So if you know a barber that will not cut my hair for $45 because CH is on some other
All
stuff,
right, man.
hit me up. I said, hey man, that's a little too much for a cut, G. I mean, I like you cut, but I don't like you cut.
Look. It's when drastic measures, man. Like it's to the point where my hair is hard to control. We've been over this in the first episode.
Mm.
It's just too much. Like it's hard for me
He
to
said it's too much.
it's too much. It's hard for me to get all the way down to my scalp all the time. And living down here, it's hot. When I go outside for some groceries, I come back with a dry scalp. Like my roots look itchy. It's not okay. Like
You need some Cantu.
no, Cantu does not work on my hair. It makes it worse.
You need some Miel.
That might work.
Some, yeah, something, I said, man, this man don't condition his hair. You in trouble.
Hey man, don't don't tell. One of the things that I miss from quarantine is my living situation. Or that I missed before, like all this went down. When I was in college, I was in the Black Scholars dorm. And the Black Scholars
I
dorm.
remember that dorm.
Mhm.
I was there my first year as well.
How'd that go?
You know, we moving on.
you
I
know.
said we doing things out here. I mean, it was cool. Yeah, that's all I can really say. I mean, I didn't really go downstairs too much. I was kind of in my room eating.
Wait,
Yeah,
wait. Why didn't you go downstairs?
I wasn't the most social person. I look at you, I'd say, "What's up?" Actually, nah. The thing is, I was really social, but I would roast people too much, and they would get like really sad, and I'd be like, "Okay, so I can't joke around with these people. I'm gonna just go upstairs because everybody too sensitive." So I just stayed upstairs. I was like, "This ain't for me."
I had a problem similar to that. Our friend, uh, the one that recently cut all of his hair off. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. Skeeter,
Skeeter Man Jones.
Skeeter man. No, but so I remember when we first met each other, like we were cool, but he was really like he was used to like being hard, if like the street term, and he would roast us all the time, and he'd like pick on us, and I remember getting it like so often that I was just sick of it, and instead of getting like angry at him
Oh,
and blowing up, I
you
remember
roundhouse kicked him to the face.
no, I would I would never. I would not. Nah. I went to.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, what does never mean?
We ain't gonna answer that on this podcast. No, but I went up to him and we went to his room and I brought our friend who might be on our show next week. He came with us and I asked him to be the moderator and we literally talked it out as men. We were like, not to say that any other gender can do that. I'm just saying like we handled that respectively, not like boys, not like immature people, but men. I was
He's
like,
saying it because men have a harder time in doing this.
exactly. Like
Yeah.
I went up to him and I was like, look, dude, you keep like it's funny every once in a while, but sometimes it gets too serious, like, and I would like to ask you to like to calm it down, man, because I get it, it's all jokes sometimes, but sometimes you just need to like relax. And then telling him that, he immediately was like, oh my bad. like he felt so bad. And during quarantine, I haven't been able to keep in touch with him as often as I'd like to, but I know that because of that moment, we were super super close. Like that
Yeah,
that
that's a
was
little
the
bro.
that was the start of something important. You know what I'm saying?
Mm. A real bond.
Mm-hmm.
A brotherhood.
Mm-hmm. We went to the club for the first time together before all this went down.
Not the one that I'm thinking of.
Oh
The
yeah.
one that everybody goes to.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that club stinks. Literally.
um, when I went to that club, I remember very vividly. I was dancing on a table, um, and I was like doing my thing, and the security guard comes up, really tall lady, right? Very tall, muscular lady, comes up.
Yeah.
She gets her hand out, right, open palm, and goes whap and hits me twice on my back. And at first I had so much adrenaline going that I couldn't feel it, and then I stopped, and there was just this fiery tundra. Or no, those are two different things. That's an oxymoron. But
Fiery
there
tundra.
was a
That man got icy hot.
that it literally it because it was cold, but then it was hot. like the pain got so intense, and I looked behind and I said, "Who just hit me?" And I turn around and I'm like, I'm gonna swing, but then I see it's this security guard lady, and she said, "Get down from the table now." And I said, "Oh,"
Why'd you make her voice sound like
because
that? Boom Hilda.
it was. She shook the whole room when she spoke, and I said, "Ooh." Like there was a lot of bass in the speakers. The bass in her voice was more bassy than the speaker.
You said it. Would you say it's more bassier than your voice, sir?
Oh, definitely, easily. And so I got down and I said, "Oh, my bad, man, my bad." And she's like, "What's wrong with you?" And then walked away. And then she walked away. And like Ryan and our friend and I were still we were still vibing and still chilling. And I remember towards the end of the night, I was just thinking about it because she looked like she was in such a terrible mood. So I wrote on my phone, like I opened up the notes app and I said, "Hey, I just want to let you know that I didn't mean to be disrespectful to the establishment, or I didn't mean to be disrespectful to you. I was just having a good time with my friends, and my bad." And I showed her the text message or the note, and you know what she did? She took my phone. No, I'm playing.
I was not finna be sick. That man ain't getting his phone back.
No, I'm playing. No, she was actually really sweet. Like she looked at it and she said, "Oh, it's okay, baby. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hit you that hard." I said, "It's fine." I remember we checked my back afterwards. Like we were outside, and then we drove back home, and our friend check my back, and there was this huge red handprint in the center of my back. And
she messed you up. Had she punched you, like uppercutted you, oh, it would have been right.
Oh, bro, I would have hit the ceiling for sure. Are there any moments before quarantine that you think about, and you're just like, man, I wish I could go back to that?
Honestly, bro, you remember? Actually, no, you weren't even. Were you there? Week 0?
Yeah,
YBN Corday concert.
I got there at the end.
Bro, we was turning up. I don't even know why I was turning up so loud, but I just remember every single song I was going off, just jumping in the crowd. And then the other dude, goes by the name Shabuzi. Just me and my boys just turning up, having a good old time, man. Until one of my boys wanted to fight one of these frat boys because he took off his hat. I was like, oh Lord, this finna get ugly. Because this is the thing. I was super pushed up in the front because this is towards like the late end of the concert. So I'm just chilling. And so it's my 2 boys who will not be named. And they're dancing, they're turning up, they're having a good time. And he turns to this frat boy. This frat boy picks up his hat and takes it off of him. And my friend balls up a fist and socks him square in the chest.
Oh!
And so my other friend, he goes to grab the friend who had punched the frat dude because the frat dude's boys is coming in to rush over and get him. And so as he's grabbing my friend, the security guard points everybody out and tells him to get out. And I was like, the whole time I was dancing. So when I got back home, I heard the whole story. So I was just like, damn, bro. I was like, you fighting the whole time? We turning up to YBN Corday? I was like, this is the one day I actually cared about, and y'all got kicked out. I was like, I'm sick. I was like, can't be taking y'all nowhere, man.
That's funny. You're just chilling there dancing, like.
I was dancing. I had no idea what was going on. All I knew that they was gone the next moment I turned my head, and I was like, what happened?
Bro's playing Kung Fu, and he's just jamming out, and then you just see your homie just sucker punched, or not sucker punched, but just punched the living lights out of this frat boy. Just BAM!
The funniest part is knowing him, I bet you he was on beat when he punched him. Let me tell you how I come through with the boom. You feel me?
Boom.
Boom.
Yeah.
Took the wind out that man's chest. I said, oh my God. Yes. I said, my friends is really active.
Yeah.
Not love it.
From my perspective, we got there at the very end. We were cutting in line. No, I was fine. Nobody was noticing. It was fine. So we were cutting in line, and we get up there, and when we finally get in, we see one of our friends, and she's like, "Don't go in there. Be careful." And I was like, "What happened?" And then it's just her and a bunch of people, and they're like, "They rushed us, and it's hot." And they were talking about the conditions of the market.
Well, a lot of people passed out.
Yeah. And I was literally like, yo, do I even want to go in there? But then of course the two homies were in there, and they're like, hey, you want to get in that mosh pit? And I was like, like I want to, but at the same time, I don't want to.
How much did you weigh? I'll tell you if you need to be in a mosh pit. I'll give you advice.
I was 145 at the time.
Yeah, you don't need to be in no mosh.
No. Wait. I've been in a mosh pit before. At Coachella.
Do you know how to fight?
Of course.
You know how to fight.
Are you really asking me that?
Yeah, you're right. Go ahead. Be in the mosh pit.
You asked me.
If you anything less than 120 and you can't fight, don't go in the mosh pit.
No.
Just don't.
When I was at Coachella, I got in a mosh pit in during one of the sets, and at that time, yeah, I was like 140, yeah, like 140, 139 around that time, because I was like a junior, and they let me in, and I remember, I don't know if they were taking it easy on me or not, but we were going ham, like. One dude was like tangled up with another guy, and he sweeped his leg, and the dude landed on his neck, and everyone just went, oh, and then he got up.
So that was like scrapping.
No, everyone like backed up because it looked bad, and so the dude got up and he said, I'm all right. And he just kept going. It was an intense fight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you. Y'all was getting active out there during the mosh pit. I said I could never.
It wasn't too bad though, because it was an EDM concert. So like, they don't really like fight. They really just like push and jump around, and like somebody's fist will be in somebody's face every once in a while, but it's nothing too bad. Those.
I'm too tall for mosh pits. They don't
No,
work.
you're not. No, you're
Yes,
not.
I
No,
am.
you're not.
Because people be trying to climb me, and I don't like it. It make me feel weird. I don't like
They're
it.
trying to get a vantage point.
Literally, to jump off of
they're
me. I said, wait.
they're trying to hit you with that atomic elbow, just that.
RKO, dog? Oh my god, I'd be sick.
Oh man. Yeah, I do miss that. I also miss, you know what, I really miss eating in at restaurants, you know.
No, that's an experience.
Mm-hmm.
I said it's different. It's definitely different.
Mm-hmm.
Because you actually get to sit down and take time and like eat with people that you care about. And now it's just to go, please. Like, come on now.
Yeah, you don't really get to sit down and have a conversation with anybody. You just get your food and then you roll out, or you go to that person's house, you know, to eat. I remember, because in the OC, things can be racially charged at times. I
Yeah.
remember we went to the club. It was me, our mutual friend, and a couple other homies that we met. We were sitting down, and this one lady comes up. It was her and another person and a dude and another woman. So that's three women and one dude. I'm sorry, that was hard for me to explain. But the thing that you need to know is that one of them is from, well, or has like descendants from Iran. And that you might think, why is that important? I'm going to tell you right now. So when we were eating, they came over and they sat next to us and they were messing with us. And the drunk one, there was a drunk lady. She was calling my friend ugly. And like, he was like, "You're just an ugly black dude," and he was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" And at first,
That ain't right.
he sat there and he was like, "You know what? That's fine." And then he looked at me. He's like, "Because he has no place to be talking right now." And we were like, "Oh," and her friend was looking at my friend, like our mutual friend, and she was like, "Hey, how old are you?" You know what this dude says? 19. And this is when we first got to college. So this dude, we were just 18. We weren't. Dude was like, "I'm 19 and a half. What's up with you?" And I was like, "All right, I'm not gonna blow this man's cover."
I mean, why?
Yeah. And she's like, "You look, I can show you around LA. I make pretty good money. I can show you around LA and we can have a good time." Like really like talking him up and all that stuff. And then he was like, "Nah, I think I'm good." And the drunk one comes back and says, "Hey, wait, you think you're not good enough for her? You think you're too good for her? She could buy anything she wants. She's a baller. And you know what? You're kind of handsome, but you're not handsome enough to disregard her." He's like,
hey, you're drunk, boys.
she was drunk.
Perfect.
No, and then she was like, "Hey, stop, nah, like you're cute." And she's like, "All right, let me see the numbers then." And then so he got the numbers. He's like, "Keep in touch and whatever." And then he was like, "Yeah, because you're kind of handsome. You no." And then she turned to me. She's like, "You're handsome too. What do you mix with?" And I was like,
oof.
Like, okay, first of all, how do you know that I'm mixed?
That's an ugly question to start. Yeah, I
It
was like,
really
wait a
is.
minute.
Like, this is the drunk one talking again. So I was like, I'm not mixed with anything. She's like, "Because you look like you're Iranian." And I was like, "Is that right?
Okay.
Is that what it is?" I don't want to be politically incorrect. Is that what you call? And she's like, "Yeah, I mean, she's from there." And she's like, "Yeah, like I have family from there and all that stuff." And she's like, "Yeah, so you look like that and you might be black because of your afro." And I was like, "Oh my God." And like I was like, "Dude, are you
He said,
serious?
"Can you get her out of here?"
Please." And then finally, after some divergent thinking, we called her Uber and we just, like, me and the homie just left. And that's the end of the story. That's probably one of the times I didn't like going to a restaurant in the OC. But for the most part, besides that, like I miss reminiscing to going to restaurants,
All the things we had before the virus sucks.
How has it affected people that you know, like on some real stuff?
People that on some real stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm gonna be completely 100%, basically everybody, or not everybody, but most of the people that live up north on my pop's side of the family has it,
Really?
and it was all because one occasion where everybody was hanging out. This is how it went down. They have wine parties like every week, right? Like every weekend. And so they're not typically big parties, but I think this time they had maybe like 8 to 10 people. And so they're drinking. They all started off with their mask on, but they're drinking wine. They're having a good time. They keep refilling their glasses maybe 3 to 10 times, something like that. And the later into the night they get on, like the mask starts slipping off. And that's where the danger starts coming in. Because once the mask came off, that's when the virus started spreading.
Mm.
And so from that one occasion, people started getting symptoms. And so first it started with one of my cousins. Then it went to 3 of my cousins. Then I think my auntie got it. And then my uncle got it. And I was just like, well, now the whole family has it. Why? Because nobody was social distancing and nobody took it serious. This probably happened maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And another way that it's affected people that I know was that uh, I didn't really tell people this, but like right after we split off and like canceled our housing contracts and stuff like that, one of my cousins uh, on his side of the family had passed away,
Mm.
and so we couldn't really hold a service because of the coronavirus, because nobody knew how serious it was or like how quickly it could spread. So we just couldn't really hold like a proper service, you know.
Mm. I
So that's probably like the main reasons.
yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean it happens. It's life, but it's just coronavirus made it like 10 times worse.
yeah. It's affect this and this time period has affected a lot of us in a lot of interesting ways. I know that during this virus, like during all this going on, um, George Floyd passed away. Not passed away, excuse me.
Not
He
passed
was
away,
murdered.
murdered.
He was murdered.
Yeah.
He was murdered. I'm not sugarcoating it for anybody. He was murdered. Um, I don't care about what you guys see on the tapes. I don't care. I don't care about. Um, I just no. He was murdered. But to go further, I know that it's affected people that I know because in a lot of we've been in a lot of protests. I have personally spoken at a lot of vigils in my community because they don't have a large Black community, so they wanted the African American perspective on like how it feels. Which is there's a lot of things that I can say about that, which we'll get into when we have our All Lives Matter video. And just to be clear, we're not supporting All Lives Matter. We're obviously Black
It
Lives
is a
Matter.
parody of it.
Yeah, it was.
We are pro-black.
Yeah, we are definitely pro-Black and pro anything that isn't racist. Um,
Yeah.
but so
Or socially antagonizing, but
yeah,
you know.
yeah. But so me and a couple of friends like we grouped up and we went to a couple of these protests and they were nice to see. It was nice to see the community come together. Another thing, I had also lost a family member, but the thing that sucks was it wasn't because of coronavirus. It was because of she was you know she was murdered. And it was tough. It was tough for my family members. And even having the funeral, we couldn't truly mourn her the way we really wanted to. So I got closure when I saw her body, but we couldn't really get up in person or get close. You know what I'm saying? Like we couldn't truly say goodbye because of the fact or the fear of contaminating everybody. We had like a lot of our old family members there, and it was just like we had to be extra careful. You know what I'm
It
saying?
was too much at risk, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, the protests during the coronavirus, like that, to move back to that because I don't want to dwell on that subject for too long. The protests, it's great to see the support that we're getting for the Black Lives Matter movement. I just hate that, we have to fight for people to believe that. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. Like it was already something that should have been going without saying. Considering everything that's happened.
Like what is so violent about that? You know what I'm saying? What is so antagonizing? Why
To label it as a hate, or not as a hate, but like as a terrorist organization is kind of ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
And for our own president to call us thugs is disgusting.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Or people that look like us.
Mm-hmm.
Thugs.
I have a lot of things to say about all that, but once again, we'll get into a lot of that later. But as a good segue, um, the coronavirus has become a political debate in our country. It is not a humanitarian concern. People are taking a political stance on whether or not they should wear masks, whether or not they should stay inside, whether or not they should, eat out, whether or not they should work. Like it's there's so many stances that people are taking, and to me, it seems like Americans in its entirety, or America in its entirety, is so keen on looking out for itself, where everybody wants to look out for themselves. You know what I'm saying?
We are a very selfish group of people
Mm-hmm.
as a whole.
Yeah, and as an American, I mean, I love my country, and I look at my history, and I'm not really cool with everything I've been seeing. I've seen like how we're treating this virus, and I feel like this is repeating itself. Like it's just I see all of the virus, and I feel like it has also continued to unmask the problems that we have in this nation when it comes
Hmm.
to our when it comes to our healthcare system, when it comes to our racial interactions within one another. Like everything about this virus is just showing me that as a nation, I don't think we're fit enough to be considered the best. We're a great nation, and I'm glad that we can be here, and I'm proud of my country. But at this point in time, I'm very disappointed with the administration of the handling of this virus, and the fact that we cannot just come together to defeat an evil that is going to eradicate us all if we simply do not band together. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's everybody's irritation right now.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because, I understand that people have rights and they have personal rights and they're entitled to those rights. But another one of those rights is that we cannot infringe on the rights of other people. And this is literally what this virus is doing
Mm-hmm.
when people choose to make stupid decisions like not wear a mask or protect others because, oh, they want to have fun and go to the beach when you're literally killing however much of the population because you chose to have fun.
Yeah, it's a sacrifice that you have to be willing to make. One of the things that really upset me when this all began was when the people in Huntington or by Huntington Beach were protesting because of the
I
fact
saw
that they
that.
couldn't go to the beach. And I thought, man, I would love to go to the beach right now, considering how hot it is in my area. But I don't go as much as I want to, as much as I have wanted to. I never went due to the fact that I know that I could be risking the health of other people if I have it and don't know about it, or I
Hmm.
could be risking the health of my family when I come back. Like my dad's got health conditions. My mom has health conditions. I don't want to put
Yeah.
their lives in jeopardy because I was selfish and thought about myself before I thought about them. And that's what
Same here.
that
Oh, my fault.
no, no, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say, my sister, I'm not sure if a lot of you know, she has 11q syndrome, but she also has a condition where her platelets don't clot up. So basically, like if she gets cut, she'll bleed for a very long time.
Mhm.
And so I guess she's more susceptible to the virus just because like her immune system in general is very weak. So I haven't been able to go out and see my friends or take the little chances to get out and just socially interact because I still want to protect her. And I realize that I can stay in for as long as I need to if I'm going to preserve her life for as long as I can.
Mhm.
Because if one of us gets sick, it's like not even to risk it, but I'm sure my immune system and everybody else's immune system is stronger in the house, so there's a higher chance of us surviving than her. If she gets it, that's game over.
Mhm. Yeah. And I know some individuals that like some of my friends that are thinking like, if I get sick, I'll get sick and then I'll be better. Like, yeah, most likely you will get better. Like I
Yeah.
don't doubt that. But the people in my community, the people that I surround myself with or that I see, like they don't have that opportunity. They don't have that chance.
Right.
All right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to have a quick little music break or a musical little interlude. And after that, we're going to come back with some statistics that may be important for you to understand. And we're back from a very short break. Before we end today's episode, we just want to give you guys some brief statistics on what exactly is happening in the world, or at least in the United States, from our perspective. We're going to begin with having brown sugar, or BS, give a couple statistics about race relations to the outbreak and how it's been affecting them. And then I will go further by looking at it through a Latinx scope.
All right, bet. Appreciate it, CH.
Mm-hmm.
For many, the effects of the coronavirus extend beyond medical and financial concerns. About 4 in 10 Black and Asian adults say people have acted as if they were uncomfortable around them because of their race or ethnicity since the beginning of the outbreak. Reports say they worry that other people might be suspicious of them if they wear a mask when out in public, according to a new Pew Research Center survey. Asian Americans are the most likely to say this discrimination towards them has had increased since the beginning of the coronavirus outbreak. About 3 in 10 Asian adults say they have been subject to slurs or jokes because of their race or ethnicity since the outbreak began. This is to be compared with 21% of Black adults, 15% of Hispanic adults, and 8% of white adults. This survey was conducted at a time when Americans were following news coverage of George Floyd's killings while in custody of Minneapolis police nearly as closely as they were following news related to COVID-19.
And according to the NBC, Latinos have been the hardest hit ethnic group since the beginning of the pandemic. Just to re-clarify, I'm going to be talking about how Latinos have been hit by the pandemic in terms of health and in terms of financial gain. So Suzanne Gamboa, a journalist for the company, for the NBC, wrote an article that addressed the employment gap in the Latino community across the country and how it has widened during the last few months since the pandemic has infected the citizens that live within the United States and the systems used to regulate the residents of that community. The virus expanded the employment gap between Hispanics and white Americans, and according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the unemployment rate seen in the Latinx community has reached nearly 19%. The article continues to imply that experts have projected that there is a notable lack of compensation for the Latinx community. The coronavirus is expected to disrupt their increased income significantly. The lack of compensation for the loss of their jobs and financial devastation within the country could inevitably send Latinx people into a horrific financial position like in 2007. The fact of the matter is that there are some residents of the Latinx community that have immigrated to the country and cannot find a temporary occupation to provide for themselves and their families. This information is provided by the NPC, and it's also parallel to the Pew Research Center's article titled "Hispanics More Likely Than Americans Overall to See Coronavirus as a Major Threat to Health and Finances." The Pew Research Center continues to say that 2/3 of employed Hispanic adults, 66%, say they would not get paid if the coronavirus caused them to miss work for 2 weeks or more. It is apparent that the COVID-19 epidemic has negatively affected the economy and has disproportionately influenced the inequality in the workforce amongst various people of color, such as African Americans and Latinx communities. Latinos in northern states appear to be affected at higher levels, but also there's also the notion that immigrants throughout the United States are finding it quite difficult to maintain a stable living environment and are continually risking their health and the health of their loved ones each time they leave their houses. While there are documented citizens that have lost their employment opportunities, they have been able to find a source of income from governmental assistance. But unfortunately, undocumented citizens are not as fortunate since they lose their jobs if they lose their jobs, because if they are undocumented, they cannot collect unemployment. Let me say that part again. Unfortunately, undocumented citizens are not as fortunate if they lose their jobs, because if they are undocumented, they cannot collect unemployment, which compels them to work even when they feel unwell, thus spreading the virus even further. So when we look at the coronavirus rates that are happening, or the coronavirus rates that are increasing in this country, a significant reason for why this is happening is because some essential workers that may get sick do not have the capability to take a day off. And furthermore, there are citizens that just do not heed the advice of the CDC or any of our government officials. And there are many reasons for why this is taking place, but we're not going to get into that right now, even though we know, we're pretty sure why this is all happening. You know what I'm saying?
That's an episode for next week, sir.
I think it's in 2 weeks actually.
2 weeks?
Yeah,
Which one
yeah.
is that one?
That one is going to be but all lives matter.
Oh, 2 weeks. You're right.
Yes,
My
yes.
fault.
That's okay. But tune in next week, and okay, let me cut that part out. Thank you guys for listening. Please be kind to one another. Wash your hands. Stay safe, and
Wear your mask.
wear your
Social
mask.
distance.
Do whatever you can to help the government officials and to help ourselves as a whole beat this. Let's try and get back to where we were months ago.
All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to the podcast and kicking it in the kitchen. Hope to be cooking with you next week for another topic. This is Brown Sugar, also known as BS, and
Champurrado, also known as Champie.
signing off. Stay greasy.
Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and catch us in the kitchen weekly. If you like this podcast, let us know in the comments below. And don't be afraid to drop a like. You won't get burned. Adios. Okay. What did you think of that?
Clean.
Clean? Okay. Are like the whole session, are we good?
I think we're good.
I'm gonna have a lot of editing to do.
So, hey, man, that